All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Picture this scene for a second. You're standing inside the White House briefing room. Now, normally, this is a place for stiff suits and very formal policy talk. But today, standing right there just a few feet from the podium, are some of the toughest, most elite UFC fighters on the entire planet. I mean, it sounds like a script pulled straight out of a Hollywood action movie, doesn't it? But this actually happened. Today, we're breaking down a surreal and honestly incredibly intense briefing that took a wildly unexpected turn, completely merging athletic celebration with some of the most serious geopolitical and economic updates of our time.
Welcome back, Focus Learners. We are jumping right into Section 1, Fighters and Foreign Policy.
So just look at the crazy contrast here. On one side, you have the expectation, a straightforward patriotic celebration featuring elite athletes for America's 250th birthday. But the reality? While these world-class fighters were just standing by, the president's conversation aggressively shifted gears to talk about stopping a nuclear war and managing global markets. It is a massive juxtaposition. We're talking about celebrating physical, hand-to-hand combat while simultaneously navigating this incredibly delicate, high-stakes web of global diplomacy.
And the vibe in the room? Completely wild. Right in the middle of delivering these world-altering updates, there was a super casual banter. The president literally joked with a reporter, asking if they'd be okay going into heavy training to take on one of the fighters standing nearby. It really highlights the strange mix of the environment. You have these moments of levity and jokes about physical combat, intricately interwoven with some of the heaviest subject matter imaginable.
And that heavy subject matter brings us right to our next topic. Section 2, the Iran nuclear negotiations.
Okay, so where do these talks actually stand according to the briefing? Well, the administration stated that a deal with Iran is, quote, very possible, noting that they'd had some really good talks over the previous 24 hours. But make no mistake, the boundaries were made crystal clear. The central, totally non-negotiable pillar here is that Iran cannot and will not possess a nuclear weapon. The administration emphasized that despite all the tensions, their primary overarching goal in pushing for this deal is simply to keep everyone alive.
But getting a deal done is never simple, right? And the administration fully acknowledged how tricky these negotiations are. In this really fascinating moment, the president actually compared the Iranian diplomats directly to the resilient UFC fighters standing right behind him in the room. He pointed out that the people he's dealing with have a ton of pride. He literally said, they're hurt, they've been hit hard, but they're still proud. That tells us the administration recognizes they're negotiating with a heavily sanctioned yet highly resilient counterpart, which makes the path to an agreement incredibly complicated.
Now, whenever we talk about global conflict and nuclear negotiations, the immediate question is always, how does this affect our daily lives? Let's get into that in Section 3, a surprising economic boom.
Traditionally, when there are fears of a major war, we expect the economy to completely tank. Uncertainty just makes markets panic. Actually, the administration admitted they initially braced for the stock market to drop by like 20 to 25% due to the conflict. But the actual impact? Record market highs. It's a complete paradox. Right in the middle of a major, nerve-wracking global conflict, the economy is absolutely surging.
And this illustrates how that paradox hits right at home. We all know how global tension usually affects the gas pump. The administration noted they were terrified that oil prices would skyrocket to around $250 a barrel. I mean, take a second to imagine what a $250 barrel of oil would do to your personal gas bill. It'd be brutal, but reality shows a completely different picture. Instead of $250, oil is sitting around $100 a barrel. It's a massive, unexpected gap between the worst-case fear and the current economic reality.
And the surprises definitely do not stop at the oil pumps. 50,000. During this exact same briefing, right amidst talks of nuclear diplomacy and athletic showcases, it was announced that the Dow Jones hit this absolute historic milestone. It's a staggering figure, especially when you consider the tense geopolitical backdrop we literally just talked about.
And right alongside that, 7,000. The S&P also hit an unprecedented 7,000 mark. Now, these aren't just abstract numbers on a screen. They represent a shocking level of economic resilience. The administration highlighted these figures to really cement the reality of this surging economic paradox. We are witnessing record wealth generation happening precisely parallel to threats of war.
But this briefing wasn't just limited to the Middle East and Wall Street. Let's move over to Section 4, Global Ripples and Updates.
Things are moving lightning fast on multiple fronts right now. The president noted some really significant developments down in Venezuela. Major oil companies, specifically Exxon and Chevron, are heading back into the country.
The result? The administration reported that Venezuelan citizens are literally dancing in the streets because of the oil money that's starting to flow back into their economy. And concurrently, on the diplomatic front, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is heading across the globe to meet with Pope Leo at the Vatican.
Now, what's super interesting about this diplomatic push is the firm boundary the administration set before that Vatican meeting even happened. While they are engaging diplomatically with Pope Leo, the message broadcasted from the White House was absolute. The U.S. is not budging on the nuclear issue, regardless of the Pope's stance. So the crucial takeaway here is that while diplomatic channels are wide open, that core non-proliferation policy we discussed earlier, it remains entirely uncompromising.
So, how do we wrap our heads around all of this? We've covered a ton of ground today. This brings us to our final section. Calm before the storm? This briefing was the ultimate clash of worlds. High-stakes global diplomacy literally meeting athletic celebration. The administration used the backdrop of the world's toughest fighters to project a very specific image to the world. They are aggressively pushing for a peaceful deal to keep everyone alive, but they are absolutely refusing to back down on their core security demands. It's a calculated strategy of projecting maximum strength and economic success while sitting at the negotiation table.
Which leaves us with one massive, lingering question. With the stock market shattering records at 50,000 and nuclear tension simmering right beneath the surface of a UFC celebration, is an Iran deal actually going to happen? Or is all of this, the surging markets, the diplomatic trips, the incredibly confident briefings, just the calm before the storm? I want you to really reflect on how these historic numbers and geopolitical tensions tie together. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Focused learners, stay curious, keep analyzing the facts, and I'll catch you in the next one.